let's go on to presentations. We do have 4 this evening, so a lot of information. Let's go to the first one, which is receive presentation on schools with tomorrow inside. San Bruno Park School District's vision for the 21st century, teaching and learning centers by our superintendent, Stella.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm excited to be back to speak to you again. I think I was here in September or October this past year. I'm pleased to present to you tonight the district's new vision for schools with tomorrow inside that is designed to restore the district to fiscal recovery and to create 21st century teaching and learning centers for San Bruno Park students for now and in the future. The district has been going through strategic planning since 2016 and has identified 4 strategic goals for the district. One is to implement 21st century teaching and learning strategies and methodologies to ensure the academic and personal success of all of our students. And as a K-8 school district, our goal is to make sure when children enter high school, they are ready to learn and be prepared for the A through G track or the college and career track that's provided at Cappuccino. We also want to, as a school district, make sure that we are engaging our parents as partners. Parents are the first educators of children, and we believe that having strong partnerships is critical to the success, starting as early as preschool and before. One of the big problems in our district right now is fiscal solvency, and so the goal of the district is to achieve and maintain fiscal solvency, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And the last piece is one of the most important pieces, is that we need to attract, retain, and develop certificated and classified staff in our district, including administrators, teachers, and our paraeducators and support staff that support all of the operations at our schools. Ultimately, our goal is to ensure that we have the fiscal resources to provide an equitable educational program that supports our community for today and tomorrow. And this is the challenge, is having those services and providing equitable to our students, some who come to us with great needs. Okay. Can someone forward the slide? There we go. I didn't hit the button hard enough. So, San Bruno Park School District has 6 elementary schools. The schools are aged between 52 and 76 years old that were built for a different generation of students. The jobs and careers of yesterday are not those of today, and San Bruno children today and tomorrow deserve learning centers that prepare them for success in the world that they live in now and for tomorrow. We have some challenges. Our challenges are that we've got issues with our physical health. We have schools that are under-enrolled in poor condition. We have many open classrooms at our schools. And the 21st century educational program does not meet the current design of our schools. The district has been pouring funding into Band-Aids to maintain antiquated schools, and dollars that can be used to implement new programs and increase compensation for teachers and staff is being spent on these Band-Aids. The district is not right-sized. The current and projected enrollment over decades and into the future are out of sync with the state funding model, which is based on how elementaries now should enroll between 400 and 600 students. We have 6 schools that are under-enrolled, 6 elementary schools. Tomorrow evening, the Board of Trustees will vote on recommendations from the district's Surplus Facilities Committee that will include the consolidation of 2 of the 6 schools into 4 schools. El Crystal, effective June this year, and Rolling Wood in 2 to 3 years will be declared as surplus property. And so it's important to understand that part of this plan for us to move to 21st century teaching and learning is that we have to become more efficient as a school district. So the closure of the 2 campuses and the modernization and rebuilding of the campuses will help us to realize at least $300,000 per year per campus savings across the district. What we have not calculated in here is actually the cost for us that we're spending on maintaining the antiquated campuses. So the anticipated cost is the low end of $300,000 per year. This is a picture of San Bruno, and we know that our city is changing. Consolidation is not an easy topic for us to talk about. But our city, as you can see, we have YouTube here now. There's the transit corridor, the downtown revitalization. There's non-school district property that's being developed, and we have multi-generational diverse community. But if you look all around us, all around the community, you see that our high school has been upgraded. They have IB programs. They have a music program, Digital Arts Academy. Bayshore Elementary just designed a K-8 school that they're opening. It's all modern. South San Francisco's modernizing, Pacifica's modernizing, but we have not. So for us as San Bruno City, for us to change what we're doing for our students means that we have to make some tough decisions. We need to be able to prepare our students to be leaders in the world at the gateway that we sit right by San Francisco Airport, YouTube, the high school, our college, and now it's time for us to move forward collectively. So this particular slide really kind of describes the challenge that we have. Our average elementary school in San Bruno Park enrolls at 300, but the state funds us at 400 to 600 students. And so what's really critical is that we're out of sync in our district with the funding models for California schools. So to take care of these and increase our efficiency as a school district as part of our fiscal recovery plan is for us to take advantage of the space, consolidate the schools, free up capital so that we can use that to fund programs and fund other obligations that the district has. So consolidation, a lot of times people say, well, you're going to consolidate and now you're going to, modernize the schools, but what about my child who's a third grader? How is this going to affect them? What's going to happen to them? Well, this is the challenge for us as a school district is because so much of this work is thinking out what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years as we finish this project. The first thing is that as a district, we offer STEM at one school. What our plan is to expand the STEM program, or the 21st Century Teaching and Learning, so that we make STEM education, and we will brand it probably STEM or STEAM or STREAM or whatever the logo is that's out there, but it really is 21st Century Teaching and Learning, basic skills that the children need to have. We're going to expand that across the district. So we're going to move from 6 elementary schools to 4, and 2 of those schools will have a specific targeted focus on STEM at a much different level than the base program in the district. The other thing we have is that with many of our schools that are under-enrolled, we have combo classes. And at one school in particular, we have a teacher who's teaching 2nd, 3rd, and 5th grade all in one classroom. That is not an effective way to teach Common Core. It's a lot of work for this particular teacher, and she's doing a fantastic job. I've been in her classroom, and I'm amazed with her ability. However, the children are split up. They're not with their grade level peers because they're in this combination class. The other piece about having larger elementary schools, and we're talking about adding 1 classroom per grade level when we're expanding the school sites, is that we will have the ability to differentiate and support students at a different level. So currently, if there's only 1 or 2 teachers and you have students of varying needs in your classroom, it's difficult to divide the students up to provide some students with more intense services or to accelerate those students who are ready. So by having another classroom, a 3rd classroom at a grade level, now you can really do some cool things by resorting the children, providing English language services to our English learners or our students who are English only, and have a really nice tight program that we could replicate across the district. So the other thing is that when you're operating 6 schools, and of course you allocate funding for your schools by student, but when you're dividing it up among 6 schools, there's a little bit of money everywhere, but if you bring the schools together, now you have a larger pot of money and you can be more efficient with the money because the money follows the students. For our teachers, I think one of the biggest challenges we have is providing opportunity for teachers to come together and plan in professional learning communities to provide professional development to entire grade levels. And so when you have small schools and you have 6 different schools with 6 different bell schedules and 6 different dismissal times, trying to bring the staff together on a Thursday afternoon to offer professional development is very challenging. And so part of improving the outcomes for our students is improving the teaching and learning. And you do that by giving the teachers opportunity to collaborate together in a structured way, looking at student data and planning lessons around that. And then the other part of this is that when we do this consolidation and we expand the school sites as a temporary basis, we will be bringing in larger. Currently, our classrooms are at about 860 or 840 square feet. Larger temporary housing in the interim, 960 to 1,040 square foot classrooms that have air conditioning. And for any of you who were here this past fall, it was quite warm, and none of our schools have climate control in the summertime. So during this process, some of the students may have to go into brand new portables, but they're going to have air conditioning, and that's kind of a benefit for the folks who are assigned to those particular classrooms. So as I mentioned earlier, our schools were built in the early 40s. Allen was built in 1941. I think the reality of that is that in 1941 we did not have Americans with Disabilities Act. And so if you walk on the Allen campus, as Marty Medina was there with us when we did our facilities tour as a community member to see the school, you can see that there are a lot of issues with accessibility for our special needs students. And so I think it's important to point out is that as the school district, we are addressing the needs of all of the children in our community, and we currently cannot offer all of the programs at all the schools because we don't have the ability to place special education students at every school because of this accessibility issue. And the challenge is as a school district is that we can no longer band-aid a school that was built in 1941. A 1941 school, if we want to do any repairs to it, including changing the shade structures that are on the passageways, we actually have to go to the Department of State Architects, and they will no longer allow us to do that. So the campus itself is starting to show its age, and so any modernization is impossible to do because we cannot get it through the state architect. So the school would have to be rebuilt. There's some other schools that we have. Bel Air has been modernized, although it was built in 1952. Part of the campus was modernized. And John Muir also does that say 60? 1960, I don't have my glasses on, 1960. Portola was a great year in 1964. And you can see Rollingwood and Parkside. Some of the schools have been modernized, and we had some modernization projects that happened over the years, but it really is time for us to do something serious about the schools. So with that in mind, let's talk about what schools with Tomorrow Inside look like. So what's interesting is that we've actually been out looking at these schools. We've been out looking at modern new elementary schools, schools that have been expanded, where their current facilities have been modernized on the inside and they've added additional classrooms or a new multipurpose room. And this is the world that we need to create for our students. So we need to have classrooms where we can implement Common Core and next generation science standards. We need to have classrooms that offer the opportunity for students to create and collaborate, to have a place where they can communicate it using 21st century tools. The challenge we have at Parkside, for instance, is that we have purchased this wonderful new ELA curriculum for our students, but yet the bandwidth at the school cannot allow all the students to be on a Chromebook at the same time. And it's the way the building was structured, so we have to go in and we have to fix those things because they can't access the 21st century curriculum. The teachers have to find workarounds. And critical thinking. Critical thinking means you have to put children in scenarios and in situations where they actually have to solve a problem. And they don't do that with a worksheet. That is where you have a STEM lab or you have a makerspace and you give them a challenge. And challenge-based learning is one of the kind of the topics out there that you hear a lot about in education. But really making sure our children are critical thinkers and they're coming up with solutions is important for us as we're trying to develop the next group of workers that are going to be going out in the next 15 to 20 years into the workforce. And then thinking about the physical space for our students. Schools now today have spaces that are flexible. So you're not, a classroom isn't just a classroom all the time. You could open up the wall and you could open it up into a multi-purpose room. So we keep those things in mind as we're designing schools. You'll notice that as in some of the pictures that I'm about to show to you is that the classrooms, you'll see that there's movable furniture, less things built in, lots of white spaces on the white walls on the in the classroom, and you'll see that we also have great lighting. This particular picture on the top is a classroom in Corte Madre, which is a kindergarten classroom that actually has a wall that opens up. It's just a nano door, and they can expand that kindergarten classroom into a double classroom, and they have actually a breakout center for teachers too. And you'll see there's another picture of it on the bottom right-hand side, where the teachers can take kids in and do learning centers. And so you take two classrooms, you open it up, and now the two kindergarten teachers can collaborate together and have some really great activities for the students. This classroom opens up to a kindergarten-only play area, and they have the kindergarten-only restrooms right there in that space. So it's a really nice early learning environment. You'll also notice that everything has been dropped to kindergarten eye level, so we don't have the children looking where they do, but it's actually at their level. and also the floors, the flooring in the classrooms is eco-friendly and non-toxic, so we make sure that that is appropriate for the students. But the thing also to look at as you're looking at these particular classrooms is that everything is movable. The classroom on the top in this picture right here is a specialties classroom. This classroom is used for music and art and for science and multiple things, and it actually has an entrance from the outside of the building, so if they wanted to come in on the weekend and do a performance, the kids could gather in there, and then the parents are waiting in the multipurpose room, which is right here. So this is Corte Madre, the Cove School, which was one of the schools we went to visit. And the bottom picture, right around where 9 o'clock is that classroom I showed you. And this is the multipurpose room, lunchroom area for the school. So the top picture is an outside view looking in. You'll notice there is an outdoor learning space, an outdoor eating area, but the wall basically opens up. And if any of you have been to any of our elementary schools, when they have an event, it's really crowded in there with all the mamas with their strollers and stuff, but they've accommodated that by the way they've designed this building. So, you can have a mom outside with a stroller roll up the door, and they can actually see what's going on and hear what's going on and be a part of that, and it helps with access. And this particular school, this is where you enter into the school, so the challenge we have sometimes is getting people to enter into one place and have secure space, entrance and exit at our schools. And so this particular school, when you walk into this room from the outside. The offices are there, the cafeteria is there, the multipurpose room, and then you enter through there and go out into the main campus. And so it provides a nice kind of central location and meeting area that would be available both to the school and to the community. So we want to create schools where the community can come in and use that space as they would like to, and the way this is designed makes that possible for us. One of the things we don't do well in San Bruno Park is use our 2 stories, because we have a small plot of land at many of our schools, so we're looking at what could we do to use the airspace. And so part of our thinking around the schools is how do we maximize the land and create spaces where we have outdoors inside, so the kids can see the gardens and whatnot, and how do we use those spaces to work and provide a program for the whole child, because this is not just about reading, writing, and arithmetic. This is also about fostering the development of a child whose mindset is going to be successful in the 21st century. And so part of that is also being environmentally conscious of the community. So this is our plan. Our plan is to, in our schools as we modernize, is to upgrade our science labs and make sure that we have STEM and science space at all our schools, that we have design and collaboration spaces for teachers and for students, that we upgrade our technology, our kitchens and our multi-purpose rooms. Our kitchens, currently we're providing prepackaged food to the students, but the community that's been working on the facilities visioning plan is talk about what about fresh food? What about fresh meals to the students? Could we make that happen? And so we're looking at that. Making sure we have handicapped access at all of our schools, and we can serve special education and general education students side by side. We have office spaces for those individuals who come and provide ancillary services. We ensure that we have safe and security and a path of travel that doesn't require children to walk across a car's lane of travel as they're dropping off students. We create flexible and multiple use spaces, because as our needs change, those spaces might need to change, and so we're planning for that. We plan for student growth because eventually they will come. And so as we're beginning to plan those, we want to make sure that we have a plan for if we need to add another building or drop a portable, or we need to look at any of those, drop a portable, add a building. So we're planning for those kinds of things as we design the schools. Making sure that outdoor spaces are appropriate for the students and for the community. A lot of our fields are not usable because we have inhabitants named gophers living there, and so we want to make sure that we're able to use those fields. So we have to figure out how we're going to address that. And of course, if you've been to Parkside, parking and traffic, and any of our schools, we need to address parking and traffic so that people can get in and out of the school in a safe way. So the challenge for us now is, how do we pay for this, right? Yeah, exactly. So we have to, there's a 2-step process. And I was going to say the 2-step, like in Texas, we used to 2-step when we would dance. But here, this is a 2-step process for getting to the modernization. The first thing is that the district has to get ourselves righted financially. And so part of that is getting our fiscal house in order. And so we believe that by consolidating our schools down, we'll be able to free up assets there that will allow us to use some of those funds to provide for the funding for the modernization. We have a facility planning team right now, and we have them working on creating this master vision document, which will be going to the board on the 14th of March, which will show sort of like what this might all look like. And then as we begin the process, we have to prep and we have to sell the surplus property. So tomorrow night at the board meeting, you're going to if those of you who attend, you will hear that there's a proposal to bring El Crystal, Rollingwood, and Hesselgren up for those two schools for consolidation, and then for the sale of surplus property. And some of those properties, really don't serve the need of the district. Those 3 properties don't serve the need of the district, because we could relocate the students and use that property, the funds from the sale, to help spearhead the modernization. And then we began planning for a bond measure, and this is a critical piece, because in San Bruno, it's been 19 years since a bond measure, a tax measure, has been passed to support the educational programs here in terms of facilities. And the challenge for us is that each year we wait to move forward with this, the cost increases. And so what we want to do is bring this bond measure to the public pending the findings that we have from our bond planning committee, and in November 2018. And then from that, use the proceeds of the sales, braid that with the funding from the bond measure, and then move forward with the modernization expansion. And this is going to take some time, because as you know, nothing goes fast here in the United States of America. I'm making a joke because, of the tone of China and how fast things get approved and built. But there is a process. And so the process is that it takes about 18 months for things to go through the planning and the Department of State Architect. And then the planning would be then to modernize and expand the 4 remaining schools, finish Parkside, and then we would move the maintenance, operation, and transportation and the district office off of Hesselgren, sell that property, and then find a new home. So that's kind of the plan for us as a school district, and I'm open to any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming out. I know it's been a lot of work. You've had a lot of volunteered individuals from the 7-Eleven committee who put a lot of effort and time and passion, frankly, in trying to wrestle with what is, what exists, and trying to see it through and looking forward, looking ahead, and I think that's critical. So, as mayor and on behalf of the city council, we want to thank you for continuing. Vice Mayor has a question.
Oh, okay, yes.
It's all right, I'm used to getting interrupted. Go ahead.
I thought you were wrapping it up and I was going to get an opportunity. I just thought I wanted to hear you clearly that you indicated that with schools less than 500 pupils, you're not getting state funding.
No, we are getting state funding. We're not maximizing
efficiencies
of the way the state funds schools. Yeah, so as schools we know in California are underfunded. I mean, that's a reality, and the fact is that there is no local parcel tax to provide any funding to our schools. So therefore, we rely on whatever we generate through the state. Right now, we just flipped into basic aid, so we got a little bit of additional funding this year because of the tax value, the collection of taxes here in the community. But we anticipate with the way the governor is funding the schools in 2018-19 that we will flip back into the revenue limit funding formula for California. So that is not enough for us to really provide 6 small elementary schools. I mean, the overhead cost of that is significant. And a lot of it is really related to, we have additional personnel and so on at the schools that we could consolidate them and have them all under one roof. At one time, the school district shared principals between 2 school sites, and that's not efficient to do. So, and we are sitting on some very valuable land. The city is pretty much built out. Everything is zoned R1, and knowing what the birth rates are, and we've done some projections around that, what the birth rates are, we don't anticipate significant gains in enrollment. But we are planning should that happen. And so that's what we're hoping the voters will support us in our master plan for the modernization.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Anyone else? For our superintendent? If not, Stella, then thank you very, very much. Appreciate it, and good luck on the 15th.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your time.